now like to take the pleasure of inviting the speaker for the next session. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CA Sangeeta Sumesh. Sangeeta is the founder and CEO of Gain Classic. She's a high-performance business coach, author, global speaker, chartered and management accountant with around 25 years of experience and leadership position with multinationals. And her latest position was as executive director and chief financial officer in Dun& Bradstreet Technologies. She did an executive education program from Harvard Business School and high performance business coach from the International Coaching Federation. She has been a professional speaker in global forums and CFOR summits on topics relating to business, finance, leadership, and high performance. Author of the bestseller, What the Finance, The Power of High Performance Coaching, and A Glance at the Unknown. She coaches business leaders and teams for high performance and financial growth. The awards she won includes Leading CFO in India at Women Leaders in India, featured as one of India's most influential women in finance, 100 Inspiring Authors of India, and was awarded the Outstanding Professional Award by FICI. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us in our 11th Annual International Conference. It is an extreme pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Sidel. My pleasure.
As a token of our appreciation and our gratitude for your time with us, we are presenting you with a virtual flower bouquet as a welcome token. Please accept these virtual bouquet of flowers. All right, ma'am, I now hand over the podium to you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sidel. So firstly, before I get started, I think kudos to the ICIM Muscat team for putting together this virtual conference. It's a job that's very well done. So congratulations on putting this together. So my friends, I'm both delighted and disappointed to be part of this ICII Muscat's International Conference. And you know why? I'm of course delighted that I'm part of the conference and even more delighted that I'm meeting you all virtually. And I'm disappointed that it's virtual. In fact, I was supposed to be there when this conference was supposed to have been held in March of this year. And unfortunately, it got moved and now it's happening virtual. But yet, I am really delighted that I'm meeting you all virtually today. So before I get started, I'd like to kindle your thoughts a little. Have you thought how to be a change adapter for financial high performance? What is the role a leader plays for achieving financial high performance? And how can a leader actually contribute to the financial success of a business? In case you've not have thought of these, it's time now to think about these. And my friends, by the end of my talk today, we'll get to know how to accept change, how to be an adaptive leader, and how to drive high performance for the financial success. So like you know, I'm Sangeeta Shankaran Sumesh, and I like to call myself as the Gain Enabler. The Gain Enabler because I create positive impact through high performance and high profits. And I'm on a mission to enable, empower, and elevate businesses and individuals. So today, like you know, the topic is get high. Get high? Yes, you heard it right. And by the way, this has nothing to do with external factors. It's something within you, how you can get high by what you do and get high on your performance. And that is what I'm going to be talking to you today. We are chartered accountants, CA, change adapter. And a change adapter is a confident achiever, another CA. So are you ready to be the change adapter so that you can be the confident achiever? So do you see this person here? Do Do you know who he is? If you do know, do post in the comments, in the chats. I'd love to hear from you all. So just to give you a background of this person, and I'll tell you why I'm telling as well. He was born in 1974 in the slums of Manila in the Philippines. When he was a little boy, his father did not have a job. And this little boy used to go get leftover food. He used to go collect garbage, and he used to push cart, sell newspapers. And that's how the family was surviving. They were in deep poverty. He had dreams to complete a school, and yet he used to avoid being out of the street fights because that meant he was losing focus from his school studies, and he was desperate to complete his school education. He wanted to go to college as well, but the family did not have enough money. Luckily for him, one of his neighbors was shooting a TV serial, and he wanted this boy to play a role in it. And when he was about 18 at that point in time, and do you know what was the role he had to play? All he had to do was go and press the doorbell. That was his role. And to shoot that, he had to wait for about 7 hours. And this boy did not mind it. Why? Because he was sitting inside an air-conditioned room. He was given good food. And to top it up, he was given some money as well. So he was very thrilled about it. And one thing led to the other. And from TV shows, he moved on to the movies. He became a movie star. And when he was 23 years old, he stood for the elections and he became the councillor of the city of Manila. And he was a councillor for 3 terms. Fast forward to 2019, which is last year, this person became a sensation in Manila because he became the Manila's, guess what? Manila's mayor, the city mayor. And he was so popular amongst the locals. I was in Manila last year, and the way people used to relate to him, they were so passionate. I could see the love. And he is none other than Isco Moreno. And why did he become the sensation? Because he used to even clean the streets of Manila. And he dreams now to become the president of the country. From the slums to ruling the country. How did this change happen? He was striving for self-improvement. He even did courses in Harvard and Oxford. And he was only looking at getting better, getting to be a better version of himself. And he adapted to the change that he wanted. So from slums to movies to politics, he has been growing in his career. And that, my friends, is high performance, right? So what is high performance? Now, if I were to define high performance, it means achieving superior results by performing at a high standard as per targets set by your own self. That is what is high performance. Now, what is financial high performance? High performance, when it is in financial terms and when you're able to quantify it, that is financial high performance. Now, is there anybody out there who doesn't want high performance? Be it individuals, be it organizations, everybody wants to be a high performer in their domain. They want to be leaders, right? And that is the beauty of high performance. Everybody wants high performance, and high performance is a positive change. Change is not always positive. Like, look at the times that we are in right now. A huge change indeed, but not so positive. It is quite negative, I would say. So why is it that people resist change? It's because of this negativity factor that's involved. If you were to take the time right now we are in, how do you feel about this change? You feel challenged. C is for challenged. You feel hazy about the future because we don't know. It's uncertain times. We don't know how it looks like. We don't know when a vaccine is going to be coming out. And that makes us anxious. And N, you feel nervous about the change because you don't know what's happening. G is gloomy. You do feel gloomy about this, right? Because we don't know when this is going to end and when we are going to see light at the end of the tunnel. And E, it also enrages you at times because when can we get back to the old way of living? That's something that we are all left with. So, how do we go about this? How can we come out of this? So, to accept is the way out. From change, this change and any other change, if you need to be a change adapter, it's the best to accept it and move on because these are things that are not within your control. So might as well accept and see what is the best thing that can be done. Now, accept is another acronym, and I'll tell you what it is as we move along. I am a story collector. I'm an experience collector. I love traveling and I've traveled to many different countries around the world. And so now, my friends, as I unveil what accept is, I'm going to take you through a series of stories and experiences, right? So if you're ready, enjoy, sit back, relax, and see what you can gain out of this. When I turned 40, I told myself I'd gift me with two things. One was that I completed an Olympic level triathlon, which comprised of 1.5 kilometers of open water swimming, followed by 40 kilometers of cycling, and followed by 10 kilometers of running. Now, I told myself, if I do this successfully, I'm going to reward myself for my 40th birthday. So this triathlon happened just, I think, 2-3 months before my birthday. And somehow I managed to complete it. So I felt so elated about myself. And I gifted myself a trip to Austria, Switzerland, and Germany. I'm a solo vegetarian traveler. So I was in Switzerland, okay, and I was on my solo trip. I was traveling in the train from Zurich to Geneva. I was sitting and looking through the window. I was enchanted. I was mesmerized by the beauty of the mountains, the lakes. It was all so scenic. I was in a trance. I enjoyed myself thoroughly. Just as I was getting closer to Geneva, a couple of stations before, two young boys got into the compartment where I was. One of them sat in front of me and the other one sat beside me. I was still looking out of the window, admiring the beauty. And what happened? This boy who sat in front of me started getting into a conversation with me. Now, he was only speaking French, and I barely know few words of French. So I wasn't really interested in conversing with him, but this boy kept trying to engage me in different conversations. He was saying, oh, you're from India, Amitabh Bachchan, and all these fancy things. And he was basically trying to distract me. Then as this was going on, this would have lasted for about 5 minutes. Suddenly these two boys, as we were conversing, just got up and went away. And I was wondering why, but I just left it. And then only to realize the ticket collector was there. And I realized these two boys didn't have the tickets. They hadn't purchased the tickets, and that's why they were fleeing away. So when the ticket collector came to me and asked for my tickets, I looked beside me to take it out from my handbag, and guess what? My handbag was open. And I got the shock of my life. And within those few seconds, I realized these guys were probably trying to rob me. So I looked at my open handbag, and then my heart was beating so fast. But Guess what? I was very lucky. I had my passport and my money intact. And I didn't know. I said, then it's when it struck me, these guys were actually trying to distract me. One person trying to distract me, and while the other person was trying to rob. But thankfully, the stars were on my side that day. And because the ticket collector came, these boys went away and I was saved out of it. Now, why am I telling you this story? Because a key ingredient for high performance is AQ. And what is AQ? Availability quotient. How available are you for your own self, for things that you want to do? When areas there where you want to achieve high performance, that is something very important. Because if you're not available for your own self, like in the example I gave, I could have been easily robbed. Or you may not be able to complete what you want, the way you want and how you want it. So, my friends, it's extremely essential to be available for yourself. So, I'd like to again ask you, how available are you for yourself? And what can you do to increase your availability quotient? Think about it. And what I'd like to tell you is, from my experience, I've realized to increase your availability quotient, it is good to practice mindfulness. It could be mindfulness, it could be meditation, it could be anything else, whatever works for you. And only you would know what works the best for you. So try out. But the important aspect is be available for yourself so that you can be the high performer that you want to be. So availability quotient is the first key of high performance. So A for availability quotient. The next is another beautiful story that I have. This story is about a client of mine, a French lady who lives in Singapore, a very successful consultant. And one day, as she wanted me to coach her, and as our coaching conversation progressed, she told me that she actually wants to start another vertical in her business. And she was not able to. Why? The new vertical that she was considering was auto writing. Now, I don't know how many of you know what auto writing is. Auto writing is an art where you actually connect with departed souls. Now, this lady was blessed to have this talent, and she was wanting to capitalize on it by starting her own another business for herself. And yet she could not because she was consumed by fear. She didn't know how it would be. And every time she would think of this, she would feel a lot of uneasiness in her stomach and a lot of fear in her heart. And therefore, she just kept procrastinating it till such a point that this was getting on to her and she couldn't move on. She wanted to do it, but she couldn't. And that was the topic of discussion in our coaching conversation. And as the conversation progressed, guess what? She realized she wanted to do it. She really wanted to do it because she wanted to go out there and help people. But what was actually coming in her way was this fear factor that, what will her clients think about her if she were to do something like this? And she had this fear of losing her existing clients. And because of that, she was not able to move ahead and get this started. Now, once she got this clarity that, this her purpose was to actually help people, she was able to throw away the fear of what will happen to her existing clients. And therefore, she was able to move on and she had a burst of emotions and felt a lot lighter. And she immediately got started and she's being very successful in it. So, my friends, A, we saw was availability quotient. The C here stands for clarity, right? So, why is it that you want high performance, right? Do you have the clarity there? What is your driving force? What makes you want to achieve whatever you want to achieve? So get the clarity that you have because that will propel you to get your things faster the way you want and be the high performer that you want. So financially now, like I said, her business has been thriving. So if you're able to get clarity, that's going to help you get better in whatever that you're doing. The second C, before I tell you what it is, I apologize for this ghastly picture. But there's a story behind that as well. In 2015, I was on a family vacation to Cambodia. And we were in the capital of Cambodia, Phnom Penh. In Phnom Penh, there's a place called Killing Fields. I don't know how many of you know, but from 1970 to 74, there was a mass genocide in Cambodia. Innocent people were butchered mercilessly. They were tortured. And even now, if you go and walk in the Killing Fields, you'll actually find pieces of bones and nails. And the picture that you see here is a tower that's erected of skulls of people who were killed. The stories, the pictures, very, very gory. It does something to you when you get there. And that's exactly what happened to me. I was left with a lot of heaviness in my heart as I left. And it just got me thinking, what happens if man gets so cruel with innocent people? What can be the repercussions from there? And it got me thinking. Unknowingly, I had weaved a story around it. And this story kept coming back and forth to me. After a few months, after my return from Cambodia, a little voice in my head said, why don't you write about this? Why don't you make it as a book? And immediately my mother mind said, oh, who's going to read it? Are you mad? You're not an author. How can you write? And I had all these negative thoughts there. So I put it away at the side. But again, after a few months, the same thought kept coming back and one thing led to the other. And somehow I mustered the courage to come up with my first book. It's called A Glance at the Unknown. It's a spiritual thriller. And I had a lot of butterflies when I launched the book. But that book won me the award as one of 100 inspiring authors of India, something that I had never even dreamt about. And when I started telling people that I've written a book, people assumed it to be a finance book because a finance professional with so many years of experience, they expected a finance book. So I had to write my second book, which is called What the Finance, and that became a bestseller. In fact, the previous speaker, Mr. Arun Jain, is also part of the book, What the Finance. I didn't stop there. Then I went on to come up with a free audio book on Audible that's called The Power of High Performance Coaching. And then my latest book is what you see, Get High, which has been endorsed by Coach Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, New York Times bestseller, another New York Times bestseller, Ron Kaufman, and many other industry leaders. Now, why am I telling you this? Because I managed to step out of my comfort zone, right? So the second C here is step out of your comfort zone, because they say magic happens outside the comfort zone, right? So if you want to create that magic, if you want to get to the next level of where you are, you must be prepared to step out of your comfort zone. How is it that you are stepping out of your comfort zone? And what is the magic that you want to create? I'd like you to think about those. Right? So that is the second C, your comfort zone. Moving on, I have another very beautiful story. In fact, a beautiful person that you see here. This lady that you see, I met her in a very small town in Nepal, and the place is called Hilsa. I was going to Kailash Mansarovar and we had to transit in Hilsa, and we had about, I think, 4 hours time. And this lady has one of the most beautiful smiles that anybody can see. You know, as you can see from the pictures, extremely beautiful. But this lady cannot speak. And yet, there was so much beauty around her. There was so much beauty the way she was doing her work. She was so hardworking. The role that she was playing was in this small airport, which, has a very small aircraft landing and taking over. You had to shift from a small aircraft to a helicopter. And that's why this airport was very thin strip of land as a runway. So whenever these flights came, she had to manually go and get the food from the flight and distribute it to the rest of the village, because this was in a very unforeseen place. So this is what this lady was doing. But whatever happens, the joy and the happiness in her face would never go. She was like the talking point of this particular airport. So the staff who used to work there, they were telling us her story of how she's so hardworking and how she always has the smile and ready for work all the time. And how does she manage to do this? That's what this E is about: energy management. Energy management is the fourth key of high performance. How are you, my friends? How are you maximizing your energy levels? Think about it. And also, how can you unplug if there are any energy leakages? Because all of us have energy, and the way we utilize it is what matters. How are you utilizing your energy levels? To be a high performer, focus on how you're managing your energies. So you could try different things. For example, what has worked for me with my energy is art of living. It's simple breathing exercises, which I have been practicing for the last 15 odd years. And that has been a game changer in my life. So find out what is it that can be a game changer for you, that can help you manage your energy levels. So E is for energy management. And then this beautiful lady that you see with me in the picture, I met her when I was on a road trip in Kyrgyzstan. She's a young girl, very pretty, very sweet thing, just about 20 years. And she was our tour guide. Now, I was driving a 4x4. I mean, we were, I think, a group of 8 different people in 8 different cars. And she was the tour guide, who was always ready, full of bubbling, full of energy, and giving her very best. And she was working as a tour guide because she wanted to fund her future education. Very charming girl. Her name was Chalpal. And during this 1-week trip, I think on the second or third day, it was a freak accident that she had. She was standing on top of one of the vehicles just as we were moving out of the filling station, and something crazy happened. She tripped and fell and hurt herself very badly. All of us felt very sorry for her, and this poor girl was in a state of shock because she also hadn't anticipated it. Luckily, we were quite close to the destination where we had to, and as soon as we parked ourselves there, some of the guests who were part of the group had some issues, because though we were in a very beautiful resort and we were put up in the second or the third floor, and this particular resort did not have any elevators to take us up. And there were a lot of them who were cribbing, saying, oh, how can we go up with our luggage and whatever. Now, but this girl, right, even though she was injured, she jumped up. She was on her feet. And she was ready to chip in and help, because she said, you guys are visiting my country and you are my host, you are my guest and I'm your host. And even though she was sick, she started taking the luggage of people, and then, she actually climbed the stairs up, and she was going all out of her way and ensuring all of us were comfortable. So despite challenges that she had, she was always prepared. And that is what the P is about, your preparedness. How prepared are you, my friends? How geared up are you for challenges? What about uncertainty? Are you ready for disruptions? Because disruptions are happening so fast these days from areas that you've never even thought about. right? So how prepared are you? How prepared is your business? Have you thought of ways and means to mitigate these risks? That's something I'd like you to think about. So you need to have a lot of foresight and planning so that your preparedness is on top of the game. And from P, we now move on to the last of the accept. What is this? This guy that you see here, he is from my town, Chennai. I'm from India, like you know, and this person, his name is Anna Durai. Now, what is so special about him? He is an auto driver, a tuk-tuk driver, right? And he plies his auto in the IT corridor of Chennai, which is, I think, about 25-kilometer stretch. And a lot of the IT companies are based here. But what's so special about Annadurai, you may wonder? This share auto that he does is not an ordinary auto. Like you notice in the pictures, his auto has everything almost. He started off by, keeping newspapers, and then he moved to the magazines because of this long drive and heavy traffic as well. At times people are sitting in the auto, and he thought it was good for him, for his customers, to keep themselves engaged. Now this is out of box thinking, because you can never actually find autos like that in Chennai. Now, as I said, he started with the newspapers, moved to the magazines, and then he started offering free internet for his passengers. Then, like you see in the picture, free tab. So anybody who wants to browse can use the tab. And then he also had a mini refrigerator, because Chennai is a very hot place. So he said, if my passengers are going to feel thirsty, they can refresh themselves with cool drinks. So he just keeps improvising. And this guy and his auto are so popular, not only in Chennai, but many different parts as well. And he has been called to render keynote speeches, even though his English is not so great. And this guy is going places. And so what is the message here? T stands for transformation, right? So if you want transformation, you must be ready to step out of your comfort zone and create that magic. Go the extra mile. So, my friends, what are you doing to get to the next level of where you are? It could be both in your personal life as well as in the professional life. Think about it. And by the way, in my book, Get High, I have shared some high performance tools and techniques that you can use, some templates that will help you to keep improving yourself and keep moving on to the next level. So accept is what we saw now. So now let's start looking at the leadership aspect. A great leader is one who drives high performance so that there is financial success in an organization. And that is like music to your ears. And I'm going to sing a very little song here for you. It goes like this. Baba, hey leader, do you have more bugs? Yes, sir, 3 bags full. One as profits, one for my team, and one as reserves for a rainy day. Isn't that what it is about? Isn't that how the business normally functions? And that is what a great leader does, right? Driving the teams for high performance so that it leads to financial success. So, how should the leadership style be? Now, we have heard about different styles of leadership: authoritative leadership, servant leadership. I mean, so many styles. But you know what I say? What sort of leader you should be? A leader, a great leader, is one who is an adaptive leader. Why an adaptive leader, you may wonder? I'll tell you why. In your organization, for example, or you might have seen through your career, there could be somebody who is a rebel, who doesn't want to listen to whatever anybody says because he has a mind of his own. There's somebody who's rebelling there, right? And then There could be somebody who is lazy, who doesn't want to do anything much and is always passing the buck around and ensuring that there's somebody else doing their bit of work as well. And then you have a non-communicator who is silent, who doesn't even talk much, who doesn't express, and you can't really make out if the person is happy, sad, or what the thought process is. You have people like that as well. And then you have somebody who is a storyteller, who's full of stories, who's full of excuses, and quite manipulative as well at times, and could be exaggerating as well. So you have people like this as well. And then you have somebody who could be, guess what? A rumor mongerer, right? Who's always saying, this other team got a huge bonus. Why didn't I get? Right? Who's always comparing, or, who's spreading things around. And you also have somebody who is like, oops, yes, boss. So whatever the boss says, even if the boss says the sun rises in the west, they are like, yes, boss, right? And you could also have somebody who's a fast learner, which is good for you if you were to manage somebody like that. And then you could have an ideator as well, who's always full of ideas and, coming up with new different things. You could also have a clown, a humorist who's always entertaining the team, or you could even have somebody who is hardworking. So, and this is not the end of it. There are so many different kinds of people, the way they work. There are so many things different. So, how can a leadership style be the same for everybody? That's what I'd like you to think about. Because I believe there's no one size that fits all. So, as a leader, how can you manage? In the banks, they say KYC, know your customer. I say KYT, know your teams, right? Because you need to know how your team members are and adapt your leadership style in accordance to that for a win-win situation. And by knowing how your team members are, you are able to bring out the very best in them. So, what is the art of leading high performance teams, you may wonder? So I say, first, know the strengths of your team, know the strengths of your people and how you as a leader can leverage on it. Develop your team. It could be developing the culture, developing, their courses that they want to go, or developing them through coaching, or engaging them with coaches, different ways. But you need to keep developing them in your domain, in the other areas, whatever, so that they are able to deliver the best for you as a leader. Provide specific, timely, and actionable feedback. Feedback, or even feed forward for that matter. Lead with empathy as a leader. And lastly, coach them. Coach them through their conversations or engage external coaches and see how you can maximize their potential. I would again like to share a little incident here with you. I was conducting a leadership workshop on how to be a better leader for the CXO club members. They were, different chief executives from different organizations. And the one objective everybody had was to see how they can become a better leader. And at the end of this workshop, there were some valuable takeaways, which I'm going to share with you because I think they are very, very important. And what the leaders realized at the end of this workshop was, as leaders, do you listen? Do you listen to your team members? Do you listen to what they have to say? Are you paying attention to them? So the first takeaway was listen. The second takeaway was appreciation. As leaders, do you appreciate your teams? I mean, tell me, who doesn't like a job that's well done? And by the way, if you liked my talk, I would look forward to your appreciation as well. The third takeaway was learning. The leaders felt that once they've reached a certain level, they were not open to learning. And they realized to keep themselves abreast and to be on top of the game, they need to be learning. The fourth takeaway for them was ego. Their ego actually prevented them from even learning from their juniors because they said, oh, I know it all. I don't need to know that too from my junior. And the ego was coming in between. And the last important takeaway that they had was on mindfulness. They said, the juniors tend to ape and follow what the seniors do. And these people are the seniors, the senior leaders running the organization. And they said, if we are not mindful about our actions, about, the things that we say and do, that's going to go down in the organization. And therefore, they need to lead by example. Now, these were the valuable takeaways that the members of the CXO club had, and I thought it was very valuable, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. Now, if if leadership were to be put in the form of a matrix along with performance, what is it that you see? Now, if the leadership is poor and the performance is low, it means you're not productive enough. If the leadership is low and yet the performance is high, there is lack of vision, lack of long-term vision as well. If the leadership is good and yet the performance is low, it means there is high potential and they could actually be shaped and molded much better. But if the leadership is good and the performance is high, what does that mean? It means you are in the growth path. And that's where everybody wants to be. But my friends, which quadrant are you in? I'd like you to think about that and see how is it that you can be in the growth path or continue to be in the growth path. So, like we saw, if I were to summarize whatever we've been discussing for the last couple of minutes, leadership has to drive high performance, which translates to financial success. And what we saw was on accept, your availability quotient, the clarity, the comfort zone, energy management, preparedness, and the transformation. And we also saw how you need to be an adaptive leader, KYT, know your teams. Do you know your teams? If not, get started right away so that you can see how you can leverage the strengths of your team and achieve high performance and the best results, best financial results for your business. And lastly, we also saw how as leaders, you need to drive high performance by educating the teams on finance, the implication, and coach for financial success. Because remember, a leader is only as successful as the team, and team is what? Together, everyone achieves more. So with that, I'm almost at the end of my presentation, and I would love to connect with you all, especially it's virtual, so I'm active on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm Sangeeta Sumesh. I'm also active on YouTube. I have my YouTube channel where I, share on high performance, on some bit on finance and different other things. So my YouTube channel is called Sangshasum, which is an abbreviation of my name, Sangshasum. And I'm also open for coaching assignments and speaking engagements. And yes, I would love that, you read my books and then get in touch with me. I'd love to hear how you enjoyed my books. And before we leave, I have another song for you so that you do not forget me, right? So I'm going to sing this little song, and with that, I will be ending my session. It goes like this. Dough is money, I make you money. Ray, I'm a business advisor. Me, a coach who'll work with you. Far, I'll take you along to gain. Sow the seeds of profits. La, a noted author too. T, I teach high performance. That'll make you more dough. So with that, my friends, Shukran. And I hope we will get an opportunity to meet in person sometime. And if you have any Q&A, please feel free to reach out to me. I wish you the very best of high performance and financial high performance as well. Until then, say it's bye from me, Sangeeta. Hey guys, I am done. Sidel? You could probably even put in your Q&A in the chat box. Hey, Sidel?
Hello, Sangeeta.
Yeah.
I'll not tell you how many views we've been getting throughout the session of how interactive and how innovative your presentation has been.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful session, truly a wonderful session. And not just participants, even the managing committee members have left our speaker lounge and connected to other devices just so that they could watch your presentation.
So nice. I'm very glad to hear that.
It's really a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I would like to invite CA Asta Angan, the past chairperson of the Muscat Chapter SAI, to present you with an e-certificate for as a token of our appreciation and gratitude for having you with us and sharing your thoughts on the topic taken up by you. CA Asta.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you very much for the enlightening talk. It was very inspiring to hear those motivational stories with really eye-opening messages. I wish we could have met in March personally, but then a big change happened. And the positive part of the change is that we are still meeting through this online international conference. So on behalf of the Muscat chapter of ICI, we thank you for participating in our conference, and I would like to felicitate you with an e-certificate.
Sure.
And along with the e-certificate, there is a e-Wi-Fi, e-hi-fi coming from Anuradha Venkat. She messaged me to give that hi-fi to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Ma'am, you are being presented with a virtual e-certificate currently, and we will also email the same to you. Thank you so much for being a part of this conference. And please do stick around and stay with us. We have a panel discussion coming up, which will definitely be very interesting.
Sure. I'll be around, and in case any of the participants want to interact, I'd love to interact. I'll be available on the chat.
Perfect, ma'am. We will be taking questions on chat as well as on the email. If there's anyone who would like to email us your questions, we will give them over to Ms. Sangeeta and she'll take them.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, CS Asta.
Thank you.